Hi, this is Norbert from the eCom Ops podcast. Nice to have you here, Rishi.
Nice,
Uh,
nice to be here, Norbert. Nice to
yeah,
meet you as well.
great. Thank you so much for joining our podcast. It's one of the very first interviews that we are doing. I found your profile on LinkedIn, and you are the founder of the Underground Printing.
That's correct. Yes, underground
Yeah,
printing. Yep.
that's cool. Can you tell me a bit more about your business, what you are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started, my partner, Ryan, Greg, and I started underground printing. We grew up together, uh, went through middle school and high school, and then eventually came to college together. And we were both engineers and thought we were going to be engineers and realized very quickly that we didn't love engineering. But through a series of uh, uh, interesting things that happened on campus and kind of getting into it. A car breaking down, my beloved Ford Probe, first car I ever bought, broke down, met somebody, learned about t-shirts, knew a little bit about it from the past, and found ourselves in selling custom printed t-shirts. So unlike the normal one-off shirt you would buy online or in a store, we started making shirts for groups and student groups and organizations and small businesses on campus. And at the time, it was really, there was no e-commerce involved with it. It was essentially just commerce. It was just hustling around campus and slinging shirts, as we used to call it. So we would meet you where you wanted to meet, in the union, in the league, wherever it would be, and interact with you there, and then deliver your shirts to you. So that's how we got started, and along the way, we stuck with it. Went through school, and then decided we still liked it, and found a little niche. We actually started opening up retail locations on campus, and on campuses throughout the U.S. And we at that time, interestingly enough, even though we're on the eCommerce Ops podcast, we actually sort of shunned e-commerce. At that time, it was about 2004, 2005, and everyone was going online. We really we found that, oh well, everyone's there. We're late to the game, but we always thought like physical stores were cool. Don't worry, I promise I'll come back around to e-commerce later. So, we always thought
No
that
problem.
physical stores were really cool. And so we thought, okay, well, everyone's going online. We were having great success finding locations and landlords that were willing to give, 22, 21, 22-year-olds a shot, which never was the case before. And then we would open up in those locations. And we were just still at the time selling custom printed apparel. So it was a destination. So if someone walked in, they would want to purchase a single shirt, and we're like, no, you can't buy that shirt on the wall. You have to order, but you can order it for your group. And they're like, oh, but I want that shirt right there. It's like, oh, no, that's a sample, but you could order this other thing for your family reunion or whatever it might be. So it was a little bit of a learning curve in creating and designing our stores. And in that, we realized that we had to do a better job in educating the experience with our locations. And so we started selling single shirts, like a collegiate shirt, like a Michigan or Michigan State or Indiana, or a local pride shirt, like the state we were in or the town we were in, because we had these physical locations, and that was how people knew how to interact with apparel. They wanted to come in, they wanted to feel it and touch it and buy it, that kind of impulse buy. And so we started to do that so that we could explain what we did rather than awkwardly stand together trying to explain what it was that we did. It also let us interact with our customers frequently on a weekly and monthly basis, because they would come through, and eventually down the line, they would see us when they needed custom apparel and they would recognize us. And it was because of that retail experience we created as almost like an explanation piece, a marketing piece, an engagement piece for our customers, that we delved into e-commerce. Because at that time we were dealing very local, but we started to sell shirts online, And then, or we started to sell shirts in store, and then we started to sell shirts online, and lo and behold, things grew from there. So the roundabout story on where the e-commerce part came from us really came through a big circle of understanding what it was that we did. And then, of course, as we all know now, there's no such thing as just e-commerce. All the best D2C e-commerce brands have physical locations, and all the best physical locations have e-commerce brands, because what we learned over the course of decades is that no one purely shops online and no one purely shops in store, and you need both to come together. And so I teach a class at Michigan called e-commerce entrepreneurship, and every semester I tell my students, one day I'm going to rename this class from e-commerce entrepreneurship to commerce entrepreneurship, because the fact of the matter is if you believe that I'm just online only, then you're missing something. And if you're like, oh, I'm local only, then you're missing a big aspect. The world doesn't work that way anymore. And we're seeing it today as we're recording this in the times of the global pandemic. If it works both ways. What was physical is now in store, and what was physical is online, and what was online is physical.
Absolutely, I need to fully agree on that. So we see it also for our customers that those who have a point of sale as well, a local point of sale, this simply works best every time, because you have a personal touch to the customers. And just shipping goods is it's also a strategy, and I know that a lot of people have success with that. But if you have something that you need to see and you need to touch and you need to feel, then a physical store is often quite a good point to start the selling and to learn about your customers as well.
100%. It's as you know, there are tools to help you learn about your customer, but the discovery is much harder than being with somebody and getting that real-time feedback as they feel the product or touch the product or experience the product. Even just conversing with what their needs are and who they are. I think we think that we can do this, virtually with heavy data, and you can, but you don't get the direct insight. So, having both aspects is nice, and it also offers some credibility, right? As we know, the reason there's been such a boom is that there's a low barrier to put retail stores and retail outfits online right now. So the difference is that, thank you. Sorry. The difference is that that was my wife. We're on different time zones here, so I didn't have my coffee. So the difference, of course, is that totally lost my train of thought there.
Doesn't matter.
This is real-time podcasting.
This is real time. That's
this
cool.
is how it's done. We're not sugarcoating it. So anyway, so long and short of it is that I think, I know it lends ourselves with credibility. So what I was saying was that what a physical store lets your customers know is you're real. You're there. If something goes wrong, they could find you. They could reach out to you if they needed to. You're not just a website and faceless and could just disappear like that. And that sort of trust, all of this world is about trust and credibility and your reputation, right? And that's what it's a way to build that.
Now, Rishi, tell me, what's your eCom stack? What's your tech stack? What do you use?
Yes, we are our story is that when we first started, so let me back up. In the custom printing world, we made the decision very early on to build all of our own systems. One of our first hires was a developer, but not to go online, not to do the e-commerce play, but to build systems for the production side. And we really iterated from there, and to take orders and to remotely take orders. There was no SaaS services at that time. We had, nothing exists. The thing that we started out using was FileMaker, and
okay, cool.
Maybe people don't remember FileMaker. I wouldn't blame them. It's still around, I'm sure. But
it's still around. We still see customers with FileMaker. So
FileMaker, right?
Still a great tool.
It's still a great tool, but of course that was the old school. You needed licenses and stuff like that, right? So we had one license of FileMaker. We weren't going to buy one for each store. So, people would write their orders and fax them, and we would take them by fax and then type them into the FileMaker system. And it was it was fine, but it wasn't going to take us to the next level. And so we built that. And when we started building online e-commerce, we took the same approach. Like, we know we can build stuff. We want to do it ourselves. And so, of course, we started out that way, building our own e-commerce stores. And one of the big beliefs that I had here in America, obviously there's a huge sports culture and a very big collegiate sports culture. And so we wanted to make sure that each of our locations that served a different college campus felt unique, and that the online e-commerce site also felt unique, right? So we were building unique individual sites for each location. We had Indiana, North Carolina, Michigan, Minnesota, whatever it was. And what we came across very quickly is that we are not a tech company. We couldn't iterate fast enough to keep up with things. If we had a product that blew up, I use air quotes, which your listeners won't be able to see, but if we had a product that quote unquote blew up, even if it didn't really in today's day and age, our systems couldn't handle it. And it was hard to be great at all these different things. We were not great at that. And so we made the decision many years ago now, but at that time, which I think was pretty novel, was to switch and move over, and we started using Shopify. And we haven't looked back from then. So we've been a Shopify user for 10 years, a long time right now, and iterated along with them, and really utilize, we feel that our places to allow, these an e-commerce SaaS platform to exist on that end, and to really use the API and app infrastructure to build that out. The tech stack, so to speak, it's really hard to differentiate yourself by the technology online anymore. Unless that's core to what you sell, it becomes difficult. If you're selling apparel, unless you just created the way to virtually size everybody magically, there's not much that you're going to build that is going to take it to the next level from a straight tech standpoint is kind of where I stand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully need to agree. Shopify, do you have any apps installed on Shopify that you need to extend it, or is it just as is?
We definitely, we have some private apps we've built. So we have things called Smart Pull. So because we have, we had multi-location before Shopify had integrated locations into their platform. We had multi-location before most third-party services, SaaS services, inventory-based services had that in there, the ones that we all know about. And so interestingly enough, we had to build that ourselves. And so our system is called Smart Pull, and it looks to the SKU, and then looks to, within our own infrastructure, looks to where the different things are located, and then doesn't let you go too far in, because of course we have physical stores. So we don't want to run into the someone buying something in real time while someone's buying something online. And so we always give the stores buffer. So that was all built privately. But of course, apps have gotten a lot better, and similar to the smartphone ecosystem, where we oftentimes find that people build apps for the iOS ecosystem and then iterate from there. Of course, I think we find that people build things for the Shopify ecosystem and then iterate from there as well. So you oftentimes get the best of the Shopify, best of the app world in Shopify. And yeah, there's some that are super integral that we install in everything, whether it's SaaS third-party systems that you can use standalone but work with Shopify. So we're ShipStation. We use ShipStation, so that's our go-to there. Or whether it's just things as simple as affiliate marketing. Affiliate Lee is one that we use from time to time. Whether it's password protection, whether it's order limiting. We oftentimes have we actually have an online group ordering platform that we created that we're using quite a bit right now, and that's built on the Shopify mainframe, but with a heavy interface on our side. So we have our own interface on their interface. We use them to do the e-commerce and the heavy lifting on the bandwidth side, and then the customization we kind of do on our side. So long story short, it doesn't exist by itself on itself. The beauty of it is that you use the apps to modify, this, whatever, very standard, cookie cutter type, I guess you could describe it as cookie cutter to make it unique to you and to offer the experience that you wanted to use.
That's cool. And do you have any other channels than your own e-commerce store as well? So do you have any platforms where you also sell besides
Yes,
Shopify?
yes, absolutely. So we sell on all the major third-party platforms, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Walmart, whatever. Amazon, of course, being the largest that we sell on. We don't integrate those into Shopify. We biggest just how we have everything built out, it didn't make sense. So we don't have them all tied into one. You do, as you all well know, you lose a little bit of versatility. You lose a little bit of control when you plug everything into one place. Some of the tweaks, and you're duplicating a little bit of work, when you do it that way. But there is, obviously a lot of benefits to using something like I'll do a quick plug for my friends at Stitch Labs. I don't know if you're familiar with Stitch Labs inventory management system, but the founder of Stitch Labs, Brandon Levy, is one of my close friends from college. So that's how we know. So we're all spread out all around the country in the e-commerce world.
Perfect.
So
we have a direct connection for the next interview.
I'll text him right after, even though it's 5:30 his time. I'll text him and say, hey, you're going to get an email from Norbert. You better
sure,
answer that.
Absolutely, very interested in that.
Yeah.
Stitch Labs is great, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great tools outside. What would you say in terms of percentage? What percentage do you get from your own store compared to the channels?
So this is my favorite question.
Yeah.
That I have no answer for. For whatever, this is why I'm such a believer in clicks and mortar, omni-channel, whatever you want to call it. I believe that we aren't the business we are right now without e-commerce, but as a function of how it works with our physical stores. And because of that, we never split out, e-commerce versus stores. That was never a focal point for us. And because we never tracked it, it never became something that we focused on, right? It was like, we need to work on this. We need to work on it. It all had to work together. It was just sales. And so everything was rooted through online, and no one was dealing with one aspect in any way by itself. And so, unfortunately, I can't answer that question in the way that you're thinking about it. I do know how many people approximately go through the site without interacting with a physical person. But it's not very many, because we really pride ourselves on that physical interaction, because custom apparel is, by most standards, a kind of a foreign process. Like, if you have not done it, then it's not something that's intuitive to you. We all have gone maybe with our parents or grandparents, and we shopped, when from an early age, we knew how to purchase something. And nowadays my kids knew how to accidentally click and buy something on Amazon before they could even do it in store. So
accidentally,
it's everyone knows how to do that, but the custom process is a little bit more foreign. And so having someone there to reassure you, to talk you through, whether it's in physically or digitally, that your $500,000, $2,000, $5,000 purchase, have some faith in that.
Yeah. And let's talk about growth. Do you want to grow any further? Do you want to make the business bigger?
Yeah, well, yes. Everything has an asterisk right now, because we are definitely living in, very scary and interesting times. So I think, a month ago, I would have had a whole plan, a strategy that we had. But I think the reality is it's not about the plan; it's about your adaptability. And so right now, I don't have that answer right now. I think that right now we have to focus on getting through the next month, next week, the next month, the next 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, and see how everything plays out. In our world, a world without sports, pro sports, college sports, youth sports, a world without events, a world without universities. this is a tough world for us to be in, right? So it's a tough world
Absolutely.
for all of us to be in, but we find ourselves with our unique set of problems. So when your listeners are listening to this, they're most likely going to be in the same world that we're all living in right now, and will understand. So I think the question in my mind is not oh, what's your plan for growth, and did you want growth? That used to be the conversation.
It used to be a question.
Ago.
Yeah.
Now it's what is are we set up to survive, and can you be okay with no growth? That's really where I think we by virtue of not when we started, by virtue of bootstrapping and going to physical stores when everyone else was scaling online, so to speak, we had to learn the value of 10-15% growth, 20% growth year over year. And while we think about that with multi-billion-dollar companies as a, oh wow, that's good, but when you're 100,000 or 300,000 or $500,000 company, 10%, 15% growth is still nothing to sneeze at. When you only sell $1 million in sales, adding on 100,000 seems like the most work in the world. And when you're at $10 million in sales, plugging on another $1 million in sales seems like impossible, right? And so we had to learn the value of 10 and 15% growth before we could grow more than that. And I think that now it's going to be like, can we all sit and be patient and understand that 5 and 10% growth is really good, and be okay with ourselves with that, and okay with our company, and like proud of our companies. I think a lot of people don't live in that world. They need to see big growth. They need to shoot for the moon, and some of them will make it, but especially now with uncertainty, it'll be a lot of failure.
Yeah, I unfortunately need to agree. This is really something that we are facing here as well. That I think people really need to learn that being more comfortable with the situation they have instead of thinking about further growth. Especially during the pandemic, it's not really easy to talk about future plans and growth plans at all. At all. Does automation play any role in your company? So is automation important for you?
Yeah.
What do you automate?
We do for sure. We've gotten better at it. We are not at a level of expertise and complexity as I think some have it, where they have just these fully thought out drip campaigns. And it is because we have these physical locations and physical people, and we were never designed to be a prototypical e-commerce company where a minimal number of people on the back end can service a maximum number of people on customers, right? So that was second to us learning how to build out a store and locations infrastructure. But we definitely are automating a lot more through both from a marketing standpoint, more from because our order process is over the course of 5 to 10 business days. It involves talking with our customers throughout it. Order confirmation, art approval, garment approval, all of that stuff throughout. So you don't place your order, you're not done. Oh, shirts have arrived, right? It's still a process. We liken our business more to wedding planning than it is buying a t-shirt, because the reality is we all want the same goal, but we need your help to get us there. And at the end of the day, it's not the most important thing that you're going to do. Getting married is, or the event that you're going is, but it's very important, right? You're not going to look at it as very important. So because
I can fully feel with you, Richie. I can fully feel with you, because
exactly.
I come from a marketing agency, and we in the marketing agency we also produced custom textiles for customers.
Yes.
And I know what my colleagues had pain with that, finding the right material, talking to the customers back and forth until you finally have the order, and then you need to fulfill it and find the right printing technology and so on. So it's really
and marketing is a great point, right? It's service based, right? So here's the thing: is that we are more a service based company than we are a retail based company. That's the reality of it. But yet it's the the retail aspect, the part that we're selling, is why we're giving that service. Same with marketing, right? You're coming up with some sort of asset, but the interaction, the service you're providing that's the secret sauce. Either you do that well or you don't do that well. The customer may or may not like what it looks like in the end, right? So, I think that when we look at that process, the automation has been in the transaction through that process. Following up, confirm your address, because we're going to be shipping 500 shirts. And do you know what day it's coming? We think about that a lot. Is like, some people are like, oh, if it gets there early, it's great. Well, when you're shipping 20 boxes, getting there early may not be great. You may not be ready to receive 20 boxes of shirts or whatever it might be, right? So that communication process throughout the order, forget about following up after or getting the order, like in that 2 week span, automation has been key. And it's taken a lot, because we feel like we are going to add more value if we're doing things each time. Like, oh, but I know this person needs to do this, so I need to type this email out myself. And getting your head out of that and understanding that consistency and the process is more important to some degree. And if you can marry the two, automation plus value add, then that's even better, right? So that's really what we've been working on in automation. But yeah, even in the marketing piece and then the follow-up piece after, automation is a big part of what we do. And then there's a ton of apps that we're really interested in. I'm definitely I'm sure others, we're seeing a lot of success with the spin to win campaign. We really like that. We've been using an affiliate, like a very simple, easy, free affiliate tracking app, Affiliately, as we've been doing a lot of COVID-19 fundraising. So allowing businesses to track their sales, which we came up with the idea, ran with it, and plugged in the app and ran right away in the manner, created the system and the process in a matter of hours. And that's not something that you could do without the app infrastructure of Shopify, right? So utilizing, turning different parts of the country or different parts of the world on or off based off of whether they're actually, working or not working right now, or shelter at home or whatever it might be. That type of tracking has been really, helpful. And I think the other thing that we're trying to get more disciplined about is there's so many apps out there and you add them on and then sometimes you just don't use them. And it is really having the discipline saying like, okay, I'm not using this. Like, oh, but you collected this data for 3 months. It's like, you could do that for a lot of things. And if you're not actively using it, you got to have the ability to cut it off and move on to the next thing, and maybe you're just not ready at that time to be taking snapshots of customers as they use their thing. I mean, it's like, that's beautiful and I'd love to do it, but like, with limited resources, like watching a cursor move around the screen, like it's really hard to get, you need to have the ability to do that. So, not to call out any companies that provide that service, the heat maps and things like that are great, but it's really a question of whatever apps and things that you're using, are you actually analyzing it and getting something out of it? If not, it may not be worth it.
Okay, so let's get a bit
do we talk enough ops? I feel like I'm not talking enough ops right now. I do like that. I like that spin about your podcast. That's really important.
That's cool. That's really cool. It's not, everything is not about ops here. So I think it's good to talk about how you run your business, because this is important for our listeners to really see other e-commerce store owners and see also the connection between all those different systems you are using. Your focus is at the point of sale, is talking to people, is the real interaction with people, and this is so important. I read a story about a big marketplace where they have the most success came through the personal support they give to people when they have problems, when they ask. And this is so important in any case. Even here at SyncSpider, when we have support requests, we really try to be fast and to answer fast. Even if the answer is not the right at the moment, that really helps. But people
Yeah.
know that there are other people there and they are willing to help. And this
Yeah.
is, I think, one of the most important things. But let's talk about ops. Did you talk with your team, with your developers already? What is planned for this year? What new ways do you want to go? Or do you say no, pandemic, everything is stopped?
Let's talk about, actually, let's switch it and so yes, there's a plan. It's gone.
Cool. It's gone. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
gone.
There was a plan. It was good.
Yeah, it's almost like you asking me about what that plan was feels like years ago. I can't even, it's
Yeah.
only been a month, but
Yeah.
I can't even think back to that far.
How
But
did
I
you
would like,
change the plan? How did
yeah,
you change the
exactly.
plan? This
That's
is
what
a
I
good
would focus
question.
on
Yeah.
is that we have never been, I was a chemical engineer. I was not a
Yeah.
CSE.
Okay. Cool.
My partner, when he was an engineer, was a civil engineer, and then he graduated in econ. So I've never grown up in I don't know a tech world. I don't know, I've seen, the cool layouts and the planning and the project planning. And I know all the tools out there, all the Asanas and Trellos and what everybody's using.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know that. I know what we know. I know how we do things. And so what I would say we're really good at is reacting. From a tech standpoint, from a development standpoint, what we have a lot of work to do is planning and forecasting, and especially the long tail as we add stuff into projects all the time. But what we are really good at is reacting. So at the time at which a lot of things started to change, we realized two things. When we started, we were originally not really a work from home setup company, and we've kind of switched out to that as much as we can. And with our development team, what really we decided is like, what we need to focus on the things that are going to have the most impact right now, which is the website, e-commerce, we expedited and pushed up projects that we had on the docket, but were lower priority at a time, downgraded projects that were seemed to be very important in the past and now were not as important. Reprioritized, changed, how we were working on things. Specifically, I mentioned this online group ordering platform we have called Pogo. If you go to our website, it's very prevalent at undergroundshirts.com, but you can also go to pogo.undergroundshirts.com. And it's there for online group ordering purposes. It's the one that is like a heavy build on top of Shopify that I was talking about. A lot of integrations and API. And we had a whole slew of nice to have features that our customers have been asking for, but weren't integral to the operations. And in this world of virtual events and fundraisers, this is a big area. This is an area that we can actually help and service our customers and provide value to them, where our physical locations don't really help that much right now. So we fast tracked a lot of our nice to have features in that, and we're still continuing to work on those right now and seeing benefits from it, right off the bat, or fast tracking, even just some UX stuff that normally, would get pushed off to the side, and it was like, all right, we'll deal with it when we deal with it. It's like, we've gone back to a mentality where everyone's focal point is selling, at some core level. And, I think we're pretty good about always having that, but, we deviate based off of project and stuff like that. But times like now really help you focus back on that. It's like, that one customer is very, very important. Don't forget about that. And that's really their experience and their happiness and their ability to come back and trust you as a company is what everyone's focal point should be.
Cool. Thank you for that. My last question for today, Richie, is who has taught you most about e-commerce in your career, and what did you learn?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
I don't know that any one. That's a really tough question. I didn't learn e-commerce from anybody. We only learned by doing, and I'd love to tell you it was like, it's only been a couple of years, but I graduated college and we started this company almost 2 decades ago. So I've been doing this a long time, and I'm definitely a person that likes this area. I like marketing. I like e-commerce. I like this area. So even I can do all this myself. I can go into the back end. I can set up all the apps. I do that, and I like that. Now, that also is a limiting factor in terms of growth and scale, in terms of integrating other people, but I like this so much. So I would say it is not a person that I've learned from. It is doing, right? So the reality is that actually, propping up a store and selling something, just setting it up and doing it, even if you sell literally nothing, is going to take you further than most people will ever get in business. And I mentioned earlier, I teach a class in e-commerce entrepreneurship, and we're closing in on the end of the semester right now at U of M, and it's all virtual and online. But the final project is actually a e-commerce platform, a store that's up that I can transact with, and I'm some of the students, I'm sure, are like, they're not selling it, they're not going to sell anything with it. But going through the exercise, setting up the store, writing out a description, and then having to think about it and actually, how do I write this description well? Integrating an app, writing an email blast, but actually not just typing up the copy, but actually formatting it in MailChimp or Emma or whatever you use. That's a skill set in and of itself, by itself. And like, if you can take it that far, then you're going to get further than most people will take it, right? So, or those that initially start out raising money and hire people here, hire people there. There's just nothing that replaces doing things. So, maybe this is a cop-out answer, but there's not a singular person that I learned the most from e-commerce for. That has all been by subscribing to newsletters and email blasts and Twitter and following a wide variety of people and absorbing and doing and learning and messing up and failing.
Being open to new input.
I will give a shout out, however, to the very first lesson I learned in business from my dad, who is my dad is a professor of chemical engineering. That's why I thought I was going to be a chemical engineer. I only learned later on that my dad was an entrepreneur. I just didn't know that. I thought it was chemical engineering, and that's what I thought was really cool. But my dad's, one of his first lesson points to Ryan and myself was cash is king. Cash flow is the most important thing. And I think it's very whatever cliche, I'm raising money, this, that, and other thing. But I think in the world we live in today, that rings true once again. And it's one of those lessons that you very easy to forget, but always comes back to haunt you or to be a big benefit to you is that, making money makes a difference. Unit economics makes a difference, and cash is king.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Rishi. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me.
It was really great. Yeah, it was really fun.
Sorry for the interruptions in the middle.
No problem. So this was real, and this is what I like.
That's right.
To be real. I wish you good luck with your company.
Absolutely.
Good luck during the pandemic. So hopefully everything.
Good, great. I wish you the best luck with this podcast. I also I started a podcast. That was one of my new endeavors in the last year as I started a podcast. So I know how difficult it is, how rewarding it is, but how difficult it is. So good luck, and
thank you very much.
If I can help with anything else, let me know.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right,
soon.
Take care.
The intro with Stitch Lab.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you. So
we'll make that connect for sure.
Perfect. So you will hear that soon. Thank you.
Take care.
So this was the eCommerce podcast, first episode. Have a great time, and thank you for listening. Talk soon.